solving for a variable. Now, this is where things get really interesting, so I hope you're ready for it. Now, you want to think about your inverse operations. Adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing. Remember, inverse operations is a way to undo something. So you want to think about what the opposite is, what the inverse is. So we're going to start off by solving for a variable by addition and subtraction. Now, if we have the problem v minus e plus f equals 2, and I want to solve for v, that means I want the v by itself on one side of the equal sign. So I have my equal sign right here, and on this side I only want to have a v. So that means I need to get rid of this minus e as well as this plus f. Now, in order to get rid of those, to undo those, you do the inverse operation. So we have minus e, the inverse will be plus e, and we do that on both sides. Over here we have plus f, so the inverse is minus f on both sides, in which these will cancel and these will cancel, so that now the only thing I have on this side of the equal sign is my v. So on this side, I have 2 plus e minus f. And that's all you'll be doing. You don't have to solve quite yet. Right now, we're just working on get that specific letter, that specific variable by itself on that side of the equal sign. So I want you to try this one. On this one, when you solve for a to get a by itself, you should have a equals c plus b minus 2. As you can see that the c came first, you need to keep that first on that side. But in this one, a equals c plus b minus 2. And I want you to try this one. On this one, as you can see, you had a multiplying and dividing type of problem in which you are solving for h. You should have gotten 2 times a divided by b. Or you could have had it written as 2a divided by b. Either one of those would have worked. For this one, now we see that this is a very familiar problem. Looks like area of a triangle. Oh, that's what it is. Now we also can rewrite it as base times height divided by 2. If you recall doing that. And we want to get the h by itself. So I need to first get rid of the 2 so that I can get rid of that b. I get rid of the 2 since it's saying divided by 2, you'll multiply by 2. So times 2, so that you are left with a times 2 or 2 times a, either way, to equal b times h. We want to get the b by itself, so we're going to divide by b so that these b's will cancel out. And that is how we got these answers. All right, in this one, we have squares on this one. As you can see, we want to solve it to where it's just an a, not a squared, but just an a. But we're going to follow the same suit. We want to get the a by itself, which means I need to get rid of plus b squared. I do that by subtracting b squared from both sides. Excuse me, I had the hiccups. So now I'm left with a squared equals c squared minus b squared. And like I said at the beginning, I want to have it where it's just the a. This squared right here is kind of ruining that. In order to undo a square, you do square roots. The inverse operation of a square is a square root. When you do a square root, you're left with just the a because it cancels out the 2. So we have a, but whatever we do to one side, we do to the other side. So it will be the square root of c squared minus b squared, which will be our final answer. So the answer is A equals the square root of c squared minus b squared. Okay, now I want you to try this one on your own. All right, one answer that you may have gotten was n equals s plus 360 divided by 180. If you did the distributive property first and got this far, that's pretty good. Now, the only thing is it's not finished yet. Since these two can be reduced, we want to break it apart as s over 180 plus 360 over 180. As you can see, we still have our common denominator. That's why it can go over like that. So we have s over 180 plus 360 over 180. This can be turned into a 2. It can be reduced by 180. 180 goes into 180 one time. 180 goes into 360 two times. So the actual answer, the final answer, should be s over 180 plus 2. Now, if you would have got it this way, you did the distributive property. However, if you would have just divided by 180 and then added 2, it would have been a quicker way to get that, just in case you went the difficult route. There we go. All right, and now we have solving for y. Notice that they are telling us what letter to get by itself. We want the y by itself on this side of the equal sign. Therefore, I need to find a way to get rid of this 6x and this minus 3. Okay, in order to undo those, I need to do the inverse. Since I have a minus 3, I need to add 3 to the other side. Over here, since I have a positive 6, I'm going to subtract 6. So, minus 6 to both sides, which will cancel that out. Plus, minus 3, the inverse will be plus 3 to both sides, so that I am now left with just negative 3y equals negative 6x plus 3. Now I need to undo this negative 3 by doing divided by negative 3. Make sure you bring that negative along for the trip. Now that these 3's will cancel out, I am left with just y. And over here, just like in the last one, I can break it apart. Negative 6x divided by negative 3 plus 3 over negative 3. As you can see, I still have my common denominator. That's why I can break them apart like that. So whenever I do that, I can simplify. I have negative 6 over negative 3. That can simplify to just be a 2 over 1. Negative 2 over negative 1, in which we know negative divided by negative will be a positive. So that turns into a positive 2x. Plus, and over here, 3 and 3, they both simplify to be a 1 over 1. And since I just have one negative, positive divided by negative, it is a negative 1. So you can have it as y equals 2x plus negative 1, or preferably 2x minus 1. Now I have to be able to graph those. So what I'm going to do is clear up some space. So I was left with y equals 2x minus 1. I want to graph that on this. So I need to figure out what the x's and what the y's are. So what I'm going to do is make a t-chart with x's and y. Now, in order to find those coordinates, I need to plug some numbers in. So I need to figure out what y will be if I know what my x is. I'm going to plug in a number for x, such as 0. So when I put in a 0 in the place of x, I have 2 times 0 minus 1. 2 times 0 is 0, minus 1 is negative 1. So if my x is 0, my y will be negative 1, which means my first point will be right there. Same thing. If I have a 1, plug it in. 2 times 1 minus 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Minus 1 would be positive 1. So I have the point 1, 1. And then let's do one more at 2. If I plug in the 2, 2 times 2 is 4. Minus 1 is 3. So I have the point 2, 3. So I go over 2, up 3. And there is your line. It goes that way to infinity and beyond. And it also goes downward. Now, if you remember your slopes, it tells you you have 2x, which means it goes up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, and it goes that way all the way through.